There's a documentary called We Live in Public, which I think that a good portion of you, if not perhaps all of you, would be very interested in seeing. It's about a man who became a millionaire in the early days of the internet, the whole dot-com boom. He was an early pioneer in the internet in general and was one of the first people to try to do things like video-text combination, the sort of things that we see in places like Blog TV today. And he made something like $80 million off of this. So far, so good. But where it actually gets interesting is, number one, this guy was a complete eccentric, and that might have made the documentary interesting in and of itself, just this sort of outrageous personality of this guy. But in 1999, he did what he called the Quiet Project, which was essentially to build a bunker in a couple of buildings in New York City. They were adjoining buildings, and it was a space where people would come and live, and he would pay all of their expenses. They would get free food, free alcohol, free pretty much anything they wanted on demand, but they could not leave this bunker, I guess it was. That was one stipulation. And the other stipulation was that pretty much their every move would be recorded on video through a series of video cameras that were throughout this bunker. And there were monitors everywhere, and you had a capsule that you would stay in, and you could flip through channels and see all these other monitors throughout the bunker. So, as the title of the DVD implies, it's like living in public, where you can see what everyone else in the bunker is doing at any given time. And to him it was sort of like a giant psychological experiment, and he subjected these people to things like background checks, intentionally fascist type interviews, creating like dossiers on people, heavy fascist overtones. And the people who were in this project essentially start to psychologically unravel in a lot of ways, and you see a bit of that in the documentary. After he did that, he also subjected his own life, where he became the rat in the maze, and put his own life on public display by having all of these cameras wired up throughout his apartment and showing every moment of his life in his apartment with him and his girlfriend, and again with basically psychologically disastrous results. And I'm not really giving anything away here by telling you all of this, because it's one of these things that you just have to see for yourself, essentially. But I personally found it both fascinating and disturbing, as I mentioned before. His whole idea is that this is what the internet is headed towards. This is what humanity is headed towards, as we have things like YouTube and webcams, and this is sort of his prophecy for the future. I don't entirely agree with it, but if you're interested at all in the way that technology and all of these different mediums are heading, then I really think that you'd be very interested in watching this, because in a lot of ways, bear in mind that all of this is taking place about 10 years ago, and I think that he accurately foreshadows a lot of things which subsequently happened. The way that essentially all of our information is now being data mined, and we're being sold to all these advertising agencies, and who knows what else, who knows what the sort of possibility for this technology and all this information that we volunteer about ourselves is in the future, and what sort of psychological impact that has on us as a society. Very interesting stuff, very thought-provoking, and it probably disturbing to many of you. So again, the title is We Live in Public. Check it out sometime.